Welcome to another edition of Tech Fireside Chats with your host, Joel Martin. Take it away, Joel.
It's 8 o'clock somewhere. Hey, guys.
There you go.
What's up, Joel?
How you doing tonight?
Doing good.
Good. Our
Can't
guest
complain.
tonight is we have a special edition of Tech Fireside Chats at the end of the day, but we have we have an interesting topic, which is let me take this off here so we have everybody's names. Our guest tonight is freelance journalist and esports
Insider.
Dude.
Jason
Esports
Fanelli,
dude.
and of course our co-host tonight is John Laster from Laster Law. Thank you everybody for joining us at 8:30 at night, but we felt it was necessary. It's such a necessary topic. I got my handy drink. It's been a long day.
I don't, and I'm really sad about it.
Sorry, I told everybody bring a cocktail, so I guess I'll just drink by myself.
Yeah. I missed that memo, unfortunately.
This is a cool tumbler I got at one of the trade shows. I have a collection of mugs, tumblers, and specialty drinkware, which you will notice when you if you visit the show a lot. Anyways, let me go. I'll let you guys introduce yourselves. John, you're a frequent co-host, attorney, but what people don't know is that you used to stream on Twitch, right?
Yeah, so I was a Twitch partner and did that more or less full time for about 3 years. Definitely a difficult lifestyle to get used to. It's a lot of instability, a lot of craziness, but I've been working in the video game industry for about 10 years, and I think I met Jason almost about 10 years ago, probably through
Sounds
Eddie.
right.
So, Jason, I've been listening to your podcast, and it's very, very cool. But I'm going to let you take it away, talk about yourself a little bit and what you do, because, I mean, who can talk better about themselves than yourself? Right? Oh, there we go. He's got the headphones on.
That's true.
But, I don't want to ruin any surprises. But why don't you tell us a little bit what you do? You've written for bunch of magazines. Yeah, I know we've heard of Variety or the Hollywood Reporter. What are these things, right? I'll let you talk about. Tell us your story.
Sure. So I am a freelance game journalist. I've been doing it since about 2008 when I graduated. Well, I graduated from Temple in 2009 in the winter. My first byline was in 2008, a website called gamingtarget.com. From there, I went to a site called GamerNode. It was all volunteer, just building portfolio and stuff like that. My first ever paid freelance on a consistent basis was for Games Radar in 2012. I wrote that first article for them while Hurricane Sandy was over my head. I'll never forget it. Since then, I have had bylines in IGN and Variety and Hollywood Reporter. Most recently focusing on esports. In 2018, I started with Twin Galaxies.com writing about esports. And then the Hollywood Reporter came calling about a weekly column, which I did for about a year. That stopped in May. My editor went to another company. And then just as that was ending, a local radio station here in Philly, Fox PHL The Gambler, 102.5 FM, part of iHeartRadio, so you can listen to all their stuff there. Wanted to get into esports because the Philadelphia Fusion of the Overwatch League was heating up, and in a pandemic world that we're in right now, esports is huge. So they wanted to dive right in, and I sent a tweet with my column, and the program director, who I had met a couple of years prior, said, "You're an esports guy, so let's make this happen." And now I do a weekly stint on the radio and a weekly podcast every Friday.
Wow, it's a lot.
It is. It's 12 years, man. It's a lot of.
You wear a lot of hats when you do this kind of stuff for a while, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I've been everywhere. It's amazing the breadth. Like I have a portfolio. My portfolio is jasonfinelli.com/portfolio, and sometimes it's just.
Just put your tag here so people can see it.
That's my Twitter. In fact, really, if it's a social media thing and it has a tag, that's it. Twitter, Instagram, Steam. Anything. That's it. That's where you can find me. It's just there's so much to write about in this industry. There's so much happening. There's so much, so many stories that can be told, good or bad. And that's what I'm trying to do in this podcast. I've interviewed. I've already interviewed.
You haven't interviewed me yet, though, right?
I have not. Okay. I have not.
So I brought my Atari 2600 still in the box. Since we were talking about video games, I
What
figured
he's not telling you is that he took it from his nightside table because he sleeps with it every night.
it still has the manual, right? I got 30
man.
games, mint condition, fantastic.
Wow,
So people don't know this, but I used to collect arcade games. So my living room has quite a interesting game collection. But yeah, I used to be I started with Atari, Intellivision, ColecoVision, NES. I had the Famicom. I mean, I've gone. I guess I'm the first generation to have better video. We might all be first generation to have better video games than their parents, right? I mean, my dad had played Pong, and I was 5 years old playing Atari. So
I remember my dad always playing the old DOS version of Rogue, where the bad guys were letters. And I mean, it was awesome. It's still a fun game at the end of the day. I could pick that up and honestly sink hours into it. Yeah. But I mean, it's just like it's mind blowing to think of. We've gone from that to what we have now. And I mean, at the same time, it's crazy how memorable hurricanes can get with video game memories. Because I still remember Hurricane Charlie hitting us in Orlando, and afterward we had a generator, and we had enough power in that generator to basically keep the fridge on, the freezer on, and like a fan. And I remember unplugging 2 of those items to be able to get my Xbox and the TV on. And I remember getting chewed out pretty vividly by my mom for that, where she's like, "You can't just unplug the freezer. That's got all the food." But I'm just like, "But KOTOR, like I need some video games, man." Come on. I was in a really important point before that thing hit,
Interesting. Yes, I guess you could relate what you didn't do as a kid to video games, right? I mean, I have no memory of middle school because of Dragon. Does anybody remember Dragon Warrior? I guess it was called Dragon Quest in Japan.
It's called Dragon Quest now. Yeah, they're on number 11. Just came out most recently.
All I know is that I think the American version was part 3, but they called it part 1. And it was the first Nintendo game to have like a battery pack in it.
Yeah.
I think I pretended to be sick for weeks so I could stay home and just kill jelly monsters all week long. I mean, that game was amazing. At that age, it was just amazing. And I'm obsessed with. I'm still obsessed with Pac-Man all these years later. I even have a collection. I have a collection of the little miniature ones that you.
Check that out.
That's crazy.
These things are every time I see one, I got to pick one up. But
if you love arcade games,
they've invaded our lives. Obviously, they've had a fantastic effect in your life and on John's life. So where are we going with all this? Because I look at it from a business perspective, right? And that's why I like to talk about innovation, technology. I think John and I were talking about that. I went to a trade show in LA. I was in Los Angeles back in October. For the Mobile Marketing Association. I had to figure out which phone I had this data on, so I couldn't remember which phone it had. But one of the things that they showed was that the average fan, the median age for all this UFC, it was like, let's see, I think it says 29. No, it doesn't say. It says like 43 for bowling, 40. I mean, like it's just really super high. NFL is 50 years old. I mean, this is crazy. So Olympics is like 33, baseball 57 for baseball. You get to esports 24. Yeah. I mean, this is the future, right? Sorry, am I going off on a tangent here? But it was like basically they're 16 to 40 years younger than traditional sports, and we're talking about $1.5 billion industry. So no wonder these stadium owners are freaking out and starting to invest in leagues and in teams. So anyways, take it away. I'll let you, you're the expert. You tell me, because I'm just coming on this from like old school gamer watching these young guys making 6 figures. And I'm like, what's going on here? Right. Like this.
And part of you thinks to yourself, maybe I should have kept playing games. But no, I agree with you. What did
I go to college for? 4 degrees? Who needs that? Lawyer? Law degree? What's that?
No, I do agree that esports definitely have a place in the future landscape of competition, of competitive entertainment, let's call it. However, I think the pandemic that we're in right now kind of strapped a rocket to it. But also in that, you see a lot of the wrinkles that, or the obstacles that they're still facing. For example, Overwatch League and Call of Duty League, 2 of the biggest leagues right now, getting over 100,000 views per match, and at some points throughout the season, are suffering from online issues. There was a big controversy this past weekend where two teams were playing. It was 2 maps for one team and 1 map for another. It's best of 5, so first 3 wins. The team that was down lost a player to lag. Like the player was kicked out of the match. So the team stopped taking it so seriously because they thought, oh, when we get back in, they're going to replay it. They're going to let the player get back in. We'll just start all over again. And the league said, no, that was a player issue. You lose. And that caused a whole uproar. One of their big players put a 20-minute video on YouTube talking about that and other transgressions the team had suffered throughout the season. It was a bit of a controversy. So being forced to play online has its own issues, its own networking issues. Originally, pre-pandemic, their plan was to host home series for Call of Duty or home stands for Overwatch, I believe they were called, in the cities themselves. Philadelphia was able to host one at the end of February. Call of Duty League got Minnesota and London, and I think one more in before everything started to shut down. Those were cool. Live stage shows played on local area networks or LANs, so there was no connectivity issues, nothing that couldn't be fixed right there on site. I was actually able to tour back in January. There's a facility up here in PA near Lancaster where companies will come, build their sets, build their stages, and then test everything out before they actually do anything. So two weeks
it's like
before,
an AV company that just comes in and makes sure that, they have super fast internet.
Yeah, well, I mean, the
laptops are working.
Well, for Call of Duty League specifically, the one I was able to tour, they do everything themselves. They had 2 broadcast trucks back there that were ESPN quality, if not better. It was insane for their broadcast package. But then behind the stage that they had built, where the players would sit, they had 2 massive server towers, and that was that's what hosted their game. And they had the one that was the main one, and the one that was the backup, and a third one over there just in case. It was easier for them to mitigate while they were in the cities because they had all the equipment there. They had everything they needed. Once online started, you started to see some cracks in the armor. So I think
it doesn't make any sense. I get it because everybody has to be at home and we have to keep the separation. But it sounds like you're going to need like clean facilities like the NBA at Walt Disney World where everybody's monitored and you're on the same facility so it's fair. I agree with you. Maybe that's the future.
Which is what some teams do, and even Overwatch League was doing that before they started this homestand format this season. They were playing basically all of their week's matches out of the Blizzard Arena in Irvine at Blizzard Entertainment.
Yeah,
very similar to what League of Legends is always
takes place at the convention center or the arena.
They have their own. Blizzard has their own arena on their campus, as does League. Riot has their own.
Again, back to that trade show I went to with Mobile Marketing Association. And sorry, I'm just looking at some of the pictures I took. Like the league's composition versus traditional sports. I was looking here that percentage of viewership, 18 to 34 demo, which I'm in advertising. Advertisers love, right? It's 58%.
Sure.
The NFL is 27%. I think hockey is down to like 18%. And I mean, if I look at this, it goes all the way from like 5% to 27%. This is the only area that has that like core demographic as an advertiser that you're willing to pay the maximum premium CPM. I mean, that's the golden, the golden goose, right?
And the other thing to think about is like this generation is the generation that's kind of grown up with the idea of streaming in general.
Sure.
A lot of people I know are more likely to go look on Twitch for something to watch than they are to just pull up their TV and try to find something on cable. I honestly haven't had cable for about 4 years now, just because it's not worth the cost. Like I can get what I want on Netflix or Hulu maybe a year and a half late, and that's not a big deal to me. And then I can get live sports through something. I'll find a way, like whether I have to go to a friend's house or whatever else. But like they don't come around enough that I'm going to pay $70 a month for them when I can watch esports for free, and you just get some nice benefits that way. And that's definitely more targeted toward the younger demographics.
And that's part of it too. I think the younger demos aren't paying for that. So you can have a free YouTube account and stream there. You can have a free Twitch account and stream there. Granted, there are premium packages. And in YouTube's case, there's a whole live TV service, but you don't have to pay for them if you don't mind sitting through ads. So I feel like that kind of bolsters the younger demographic as well. Not to mention it's video games, and the younger demographic has grown up with video games. Even younger than me have grown up with games. Like I grew up with Super Mario Brothers and the original Nintendo. That's where I started. Yeah. Kids that are 18 now started with 20 years ago. What's that? PS2?
Oh, geez. 20 years ago, they were playing Warcraft. They were playing Red Alert too. Red
Alert, yeah, sure.
Yeah,
WoW was only 4 years away 20 years ago. Think about that. It's crazy. It's a lot to do with just the way that kids have grown up with this stuff. So it's just its popularity is from that. They want to see the pros. I would think they approach it.
Wow, they were one when Final Fantasy 7 was the original was out.
With 7, they were if they were born in 2000, they weren't born yet because that was 97.
Yeah. Sorry, I can't do math at this time of the day. Maybe I can't do math at all. I played video games my whole life.
That's okay. My favorite numbers are right here on my chest. This is the final score of when the Eagles won the Super Bowl.
Right. Let's stop for a second. Let's plug your podcast, which I listened to a little bit. It was a little dark the first episode, but by
that's the 5th episode. To be fair, it's the 5th one.
Yeah, it was
all circumstance. It was not my intention to be so dark. It just happened. It was
good. I have a couple of questions. Sure. Pats or Geno's?
Neither.
What? Really?
Flat out neither. Okay. Jim's D'Alessandro's or John's roast pork if you can get there.
Okay. Do you like real cheese or Cheese Whiz?
It depends on the day.
That's the correct answer, to be honest.
If I'm down there,
Whiz.
If I'm making it myself, I'll probably put a slice of American cheese on it.
It's such an American thing, Cheese Whiz, right? I mean, like, show that to like somebody from France, they'll be like, sacrilege! It's not real cheese.
Yeah, it's not real cheese, but
it's processed.
It tastes real good going down. I'll tell you that.
That's all right. I had to do the Philly questions, right?
No,
so, when did you start with iHeartMedia? Tell me a little bit about that. I just want to jump in and talk about the
back in January. I wrote my weekly column for Hollywood Reporter. I was still doing it, and I posted the link on Twitter. And Sean Brace, who is the program director at Fox PHL The Gambler, the local Philly Fox Sports Radio, messaged me on Twitter. He direct messaged me, and he said, "Yo, you cover esports?" I said, "Yeah, I've been covering it for about a year and a half now. Been here, been there." He goes, "We're trying to get into esports huge. Do you want to be our guy?" I said, "Yes, you're asking me to be on the radio. That's absolutely, I will do that. That was part of what I went to school for." So I think late February, I want to say somewhere in the, let's say the 12th or the 13th was my first week on air with him. It was a 20-minute, 30 minutes segment. We talked about, we usually talk about the Fusion Overwatch League, a lot of the Sixers in the NBA 2K League, stuff like that. But as we kept going, we built a bigger rapport. Things got great. He said to me, "How would you like to start your own blog and podcast?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm in. Let's do it. I can record at night. I can look for interviews. I can make this happen. So let's do it." So my first episode was the end of June, I want to say. 5th, let's see, 4th. The next episode was episode 5. We skipped a week, then 4 weeks before that. So yeah, end of May, early June was the first episode. And then we have done 5 full episodes. 6th one will be on Friday. We have interviewed 2 head coaches from the Call of Duty League, 1 team manager from the Overwatch League. We've interviewed the head of an indie studio. We've interviewed the head of marketing and communications for Arcade 1-Up, who make those mini custom arcade machines.
They're everywhere in every Walmart, Target.
All
over the place.
And because I want it to be,
let me jump in with a question. Do you think that's actually bringing value to the originals?
No,
it takes away from them.
No, because there are more games in the Arcade 1-Up. If I buy an Arcade 1-Up machine, I'm buying 4 or 5 games, not just one.
Well, I've seen them when they only have one, like the Ninja Turtles or the
Ninja Turtles has two different games on it.
Yeah, it's 2 games on it. Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, you can get a little Android PC and you can have 500 completely illegal.
Raspberry Pi, yeah, sure.
Yeah,
anybody can have a Raspberry Pi.
Yeah, you can have like 5,000 classic games on there. I mean, you're just getting the original feel of a cabinet. But I have, for example, I have an original Mortal Kombat, right?
Sure.
Does it take away from having I mean, look, it's bulky. It's a pain to repair. There's a lot of mechanical things in it. And I'm sorry, I'm getting on a totally different topic here, but does it take away from the original collecting? It's like digital pinball versus real pinball, you know?
I don't think that the people that would consider an arcade one-up machine would be collecting the old machines anyway.
This is more just like an entertainment thing to have in the garage.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This is something you put in your downstairs bar or your den, your man cave, whatever you want to call it, so that when your buddies come over to watch football, you're like, "Oh, hey, cool, let's go play Miss Pac-Man."
I just feel like it's like the difference between buying a real jukebox and an MP3 player.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right.
Well, I can just tell you now that people know the difference because, I mean, I represent one of the biggest arcades in Florida. And, I mean, people come from all over the state just to go to Arcade Monsters in Oviedo. And, I mean, that's a city that most people aren't familiar with, you know. They might know what UCF is, but they don't know what Oviedo is, you know.
You mentioned this has all the classic pinball machines, right?
Oh, they have, like, everything. They have, like...
Oh, that's amazing. All right, we'll check it out sometime.
Something machines.
Post-apocalypse, I mean...
Post-pandemic, we're all going there.
Speaking of pandemics, I'm wearing a cool Comic-Con shirt that I got when I thought this movie about a pandemic from hell. I forgot the storyline. I thought very similar to another game called Doom. But anyways, Gears of War, whatever. I mean, Jason, whatever happened to this movie? I was there. I was at Comic-Con in 2007. They give me the T-shirt. They tell me the movie's coming out. Nothing happened. What gives?
I think it was just a matter of Microsoft shutting down that part of their team. Now, I think that movie is still somewhere being shifted around. I don't think it's completely dead, but if it does come back, I don't even think it's going to be in the form of your T-shirt. Is I pointing? Is that you?
Yeah. You know, I am excited. I mentioned this last week. It was Fallout is now going to be an Amazon series. And I think I went.
Good idea.
I lost it for like a whole day. Like,
good idea.
I saw that.
Honestly, the most excited I am for a video game piece of media is The Last of Us on HBO. That's going to be insane.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, that was one of your podcasts talking about the ending being ruined for part 2, right?
Yes, and how
do you feel about that?
I feel that people who spoiled it for themselves they missed out. It's that simple. If I will never spoil anything for myself ever again, because I knew people who spoiled it for themselves and were furious with how it happened. It didn't need to have a sequel. They ruined these characters, blah, 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 because they read bullet points. I played all 30 damn hours of that game, without being spoiled. I didn't read a single thing about what happened in that game. And if I had spoiled it for myself, I'd be furious with myself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's a difference between spoiling it, getting your information from some Redditor or some Twitter account and all that bias that's there, and getting it the actual way that the artist, or in this case, the game developer, wait, no, I'm not going to take that back. Game developers are artists. The way that the artist intended on the screen for it to feel in your hand. And the only way you can make a valid opinion, to me, is if you do it right. And that's a strong statement, I know, but don't spoil it. Get mad that you spoiled it. So are they mad that they spoiled it for themselves, or are they mad about what actually happened?
And here's a whole different topic. How do you feel about multiple endings?
I'm fine with multiple endings as long as it's clear eventually which one is canon. Like if
the canon question. I mean, this is like a Mortal Kombat situation, right?
Where you get in even to like the DC universe where it's like, is the Snyder cut the real one or the not real one? You know, not that I'm trying to get into any of that.
Is it going to be like 100 times better, or is it just like a rehash? Like, what's going on here?
I think the biggest question about the Snyder cut is, am I going to have time for it? And I just don't know the answer.
Everybody says no, but they're going to watch it. Everybody's going to watch it. They're going to.
At some point, I probably will. Just out of pure torment.
Yeah, I have to. You know.
Yeah. I mean, I'll try it. I saw the other one in theaters, so I'll give it a shot. But we'll see.
No.
I think that's another question. So I've been getting a couple of pings, which is good. But I'm going to let John jump in. John, you have a journalist here with a lot of Hollywood cred. Let's ask some questions.
Is somebody mad at me? Are those pings? Are they mad at me?
Let me see this question. Hold on.
Well, the one thing I was going to ask is, I mean, one of the hardest things when it comes to esports in general is kind of understanding what's happening on the screen.
I agree.
And who do you think is doing that well? Because obviously something like Rocket League, that's a very easy transition. I understand
Sure.
soccer. I can watch soccer with cars. But what about Call of Duty or Overwatch or even League or Dota? Those are much more complex and they don't translate as well.
The easiest one to watch for me is fighting games, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, those type of games, because you have one player versus one player on the screen, each controlled by one person. It's a one-on-one. Here's how I have compared it in the past. If Overwatch, League, Call of Duty are the NFL and the NBA, League of Legends and Dota are FIFA and UEFA, the way they're set up, a fighting game tournament is an MMA fight.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
Or a pro wrestling match.
I agree to that. Yeah,
it's that kind of feel. I went to EVO 2018 in Las Vegas. The biggest fighting game tournament in the world, EVO was. Who knows what it'll be when it comes back? That's a whole other story. And it was the most insane weekend of my life. Now, I grew up with fighting games. Street Fighter was one of the first games I ever latched onto. So fighting games hold a special place in my heart. You could stand, and first of all, they fill the Mandalay Bay, which that alone is enough to give you the gravity. So Friday and Saturday happen in the like convention center, and Sunday happen in the actual arena. And they have 9 games that they feature. They run these huge tournaments with big prizes at the end. During the Sunday part, the actual developers come in and they announce new characters or new games and stuff like that. It became like a whole
E3, which no longer is.
It was a weekend for fighting games to do their thing. It's really, really cool.
Well, I'm reading here. I mean, we were supposed to do 1.5 billion by 2020 by the end of this year. I don't think we're going to get to that number because of the pandemic, but still, anything over $1 billion is quite an industry.
Sure. But to answer your question about broadcasting right now, because fighting games have their own issues, it's Call of Duty League. They have, I told you they had 2 production trucks at their set. One of them was dedicated to something called Codcaster, CODcaster. And essentially, there's 6 guys at a panel, each one with their own controller, each one controlling a free moving camera. And they can put that camera wherever they want to show like 2 teams coming together in a central area, and they're about to have a skirmish. So this camera sets up the teams approaching each other, and then it'll switch to a first-person view. They also have the ability so that when you're playing Modern Warfare, you see the other teams on the screen, and they're all in like camo or desert colors, the normal soldier colors. This Codcaster takes the feed from the game and overlays the colors of the 2 teams that are playing.
Wow, so that's like some software that allows them to do. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yes. So if you're
watching NFL software, right?
Software that was developed, I believe, in part by Beanox and by Infinity Ward and Activision and all the companies that handle Call of Duty in that umbrella. So, like, if you're watching Toronto Ultra versus Paris Legion, purple for Toronto, Paris is orange. You'll see, if you're in a first-person view, you, the viewer, will see the outlines of where the other players are, but the guy on the screen won't. So, like, I want to be like, shoot him, and then I have to remember, oh, wait, he doesn't know he's there. Only I can see that.
That's always one of the more interesting things about even watching a game live is because when you can see that stuff, sometimes when they're not in super soundproof boxes, basically, the crowd starting to scream something can actually change the way it goes. And I know with League of Legends, that's gone back and forth a couple times historically where stuff's happened, just because the audience kind of was like, they're going to Baron, and it's like the big kind of neutral objective to take. I know one thing that was really interesting about Call of Duty League to me was the fact that, to me, Nadeshot is one of the biggest names that came out of Call of Duty. And he didn't even form a team there because of the fact the franchise fees to him were so astronomical, they weren't really tenable. And I mean, as someone who kind of cut my teeth when it comes to esports on watching LCS, I can't imagine a world where we wouldn't have a TSM or, a Cloud9 or a Team Liquid or a CLG, some of those major kind of mainstays. So to see that kind of pull out now that they've kind of formalized the league and added in more, kind of structure with these franchise fees was definitely kind of weird. What was your take on some of that?
Now it's the same league. Like Optic Gaming has Optic Gaming Los Angeles. That's one of the 12 teams. Luminosity owns the Seattle Surge, as well as the Vancouver Titans and the Overwatch League. So those esports organizations are still there. It's just being the tournament is being produced in a way that is more familiar to the casual fan. If I say to someone who's never watched esports before, man, I was watching this match in Counter-Strike between Team Solo Mid and Cloud9 or League of Legends, between those two teams, and they were going like this, and they're going to look at me funny. But if I say, hey, I was watching Call of Duty, and this Paris team was going up against this LA team, it was a really cool match, and they were like, oh, I understand.
You get the referee
more. And even just from a legal perspective, I totally get that aspect of it. I more meant the fact that someone like Nadeshot and his 100 Thieves didn't even decide to participate. You know, the kind of brand that made him big was more, you know, Call of Duty than anything. But obviously,
are there brands that get more. Everything froze here. You guys there?
I hear you. I don't. I hear you.
I see Jason. I see.
I had a little slowdown there.
Yeah, you were frozen in this majestic little pose.
Somebody's ordering something online. They're watching Netflix. So
another ping. Someone's mad at me.
so here's my question. This is something that came up. I was in last year at the NFL draft in Nashville. I went to Esports, and I met Katrina Polanka, director of sponsorship operations at Twitch, and I also met, I think it was Joss Price, also at Twitch. And one of the things that they were talking about, I think I'm slowing down, speeding up there, was the sponsorships. Sponsorships, I imagine, are going up, right? Because they had I think it was like a State Farm or a insurance team, and they had a Subway team. Who are the corporate sponsors? What are they paying now to sponsor some of these teams?
Oh, I can't even fathom what those teams are. The Philadelphia Fusion of the Overwatch League are a Comcast Spectacor team. They are in the same level as the Flyers and the Six, maybe not the same level, but owned by the same people as these established traditional sports franchises. Were they as expensive? No, I doubt it. But they were probably still a very pretty penny just to get into this 20-team league. And the Fusion were one of the founding members of the league as well. So they've been around.
That part is really interesting to me because I think that's where the other show I went to, they were talking about that traditional arena owners, stadium owners are now investing in the teams because they know that 10 years from now they won't have an audience. And the audiences are just trickling down. Those are the charts I was looking at earlier.
The NBA was one of the best when it came to just suddenly taking esports seriously. And I mean, some of that is on David Silver for actually, you know, bringing people in and having those kind of, I think I just mixed the two of them, Adam Silver, David Stern, whatever. But it was on him for bringing the people in to, you know, kind of give these presentations to the ownership groups. And I mean, that's where you started to see, you know, some of those major organizations start to trickle down and take investments. And at this point, I would wager that almost every esports team has some level of investment from traditional sports. There's very few that have kind of remained purely endemic.
Yeah. Now, if you want to hear the biggest example for me, and maybe it's because I live here, of how serious these major corporations are taking it, Comcast is building the Fusion, their own arena, smack dab in the middle of the South Philadelphia Sports Complex. Right next to the Wells Fargo Center, right next to Lincoln Financial Field, right across the street from Citizens Bank Park. Right there, there's going to be an esports arena, the biggest on the East Coast. That, to me, was the sign that, okay, maybe at first, because I at first was not, like when I started writing about esports for Twin Galaxies, I was not convinced. I was like, competitive gaming has its niche, but it's never, I don't think it's ever going to make that push. And then when Overwatch League started with the city-based teams, I thought, all right, that's a good approach, but let's see where this goes. And now there's a giant arena being built in my city.
Well, that leads to another thing. Do you think it's going to be bigger post-COVID? Because all the people at home playing. I mean, that's
yes, right? It could be because of the viewers that they have gained or earned in this pandemic world where there was nothing else to watch.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. There's no new content.
There was a point this year where SportsCenter was having to do recaps of a documentary. And, you know, I mean, it's a very good documentary, I'm really enjoying it. It finally got up on Netflix.
So I
can finally watch it. Yeah, the Michael Jordan documentary, The Last Dance. But the fact that SportsCenter was sitting there having to do recaps, I mean, it's like, well, what else can you talk about? You know, esports was still going on. There was still stuff happening. Yes, there's issues right now with traveling, with visas, with, lag, like you said, because honestly, we're not at the point in America where our infrastructure is perfect when it comes to internet.
That's
we really need better bandwidth, better upload, download, all that kind of stuff to make this stuff a little more universal in that regard. But that's why it gets really interesting when you do have these kind of like traveling venues and events, because like the homestand concept from Overwatch is just one of the most exciting things on the planet to me. Because I mean, I got to go to the mid-season invitational when Riot brought it to Tallahassee. And I mean, you had to question to begin with, why the hell did you pick Tallahassee?
Viewers, like something crazy, their last tournament?
Oh, League is insane.
Yeah.
League is FIFA. League is FIFA. I mean, they're the international esports brand. They're humongous all over the world.
It's basically FIFA, but you switch like Europe and Asia in a sense, because like all the viewership is largely in Korea and China.
That's true. And
are we at that point where we have a national team playing the Korean? Because the Koreans have been doing this for a very long time.
We've never hit the point where we have like quote unquote national teams, but they are broken down. At least in League, they are broken down into different kind of divisions in a sense. And they have limited the amount of people you can have from an international standpoint. Right. And the reason they did that was actually because the North American teams have struggled internationally historically, just flat out. And they've never really made it.
It's playing StarCraft. It's like, I mean, they're so good.
Well, that's just it. Korea was always dominating. And there was a point where China actually fielded a full team and sent them to the American version of the LCS, basically, and they won. They just played in. They spent a year in America and just took a slot, and they're like full Chinese team basically that they brought in. So they've got really talent. Yeah.
I see a lot of games over there that we just don't have here. I mean, that they play.
I think there's a chance you might see something in the Olympics eventually, and at that point, you'll finally see. National teams.
I'm being pinged that we're up for time, but you know what? We didn't show. Your
it's fast.
Yeah, it goes fast.
Time goes back fast. Hey, hold on a second. I don't think I showed it here. Let's show your. Do you have access to Cheesesteaks and Controllers?
That's it. That's my baby. That's the Cheesesteaks and Controllers podcast. Goes up every Friday exclusively on iHeartRadio. That is where I talk about esports and general gaming, and I do try and split it. I do try and give equal time, where one main topic is esports and one main topic is general gaming. I try to have everything in there, a little bit for everybody. There are 5 episodes that you can listen to right now. All of them are about an hour. The very first episode goes through the Overwatch League structure. The second episode goes through the Call of Duty League structure, plus the interview with Arcade 1-Up. Episode number 3, we talk to the Florida Mutineers head coach of the Call of Duty League. We talk about The Last of Us 2 and spoilers. And then that's the only episode that has some non-gaming content because The Undertaker retired, and I had to talk about it. He's my favorite pro wrestler of all time. But I try with this podcast to make it so that the seasoned gamer and someone who has never played it before can both listen to it and come out of it with something. I don't want it to be isolating for anyone. If I can teach someone who's never played games before something, awesome. If I can entertain or educate someone who's been playing forever, I never thought of that, awesome. That's all I want.
Yeah, listen, you're in a great intersection of media, games, an industry that's not projected to grow. I mean, this is fantastic. So it's really cool. I like the mix of reporting that you had on there, from something that happened in the news, something that's happening in the leagues, something that happened from actually playing games. So very cool, man. I really enjoyed it.
I appreciate that, and I hope I keep entertaining you. I hope you keep listening. And
well, your listeners too.
Yeah, sure. I haven't actually gotten any data, so I don't know how many there are. It could just be my mom and her friends, but yeah, if you're listening, thank you. I hope you keep listening, and I hope I keep entertaining. I do.
That's good. That's really good. And people can find you on Twitter as well, right?
Yes, Twitter at Big Man Fanelli, right there on your.
Nice. John, any last thoughts on this industry? I mean, we're in technology sales.
Oh man, the game industry is always going to be kind of like where my passion is. Like, I love this space. There's so much happening, and I just can't wait to see where things go. Because honestly, I really do think we're poised to where esports and streaming and all that stuff is going to continue to grow. And it's going to get even more exciting from here. So.
Well, if you have questions on the legal aspects of video games or you're interested in getting into the game industry, make sure to check out John Laster's page. Was it Laster Law?
Yeah, johnlasterlaw.com. Yeah.
.com. That's right. All right. I mean, a professional who's
I definitely do a lot of work with streamers, esports teams, brands, tech companies, video game companies, all the works. I'm very familiar with the industry.
Represents on Twitch pioneers. I mean, that's so that's good. Make sure to check out his website. And Jason, thank you so much for the insight. We definitely got to get you back on here when there's some crazy news.
Yeah, I'm here. Let's do it again. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Guys, thank you so much.
Again, guys.
Thank you for your time. Next time, bring a drink. I don't like drinking by myself. All right. Good night.
Now I know.
Thanks for watching, and join us next week on Tech Fireside Chats.